Let's now pivot to conflict resolution. We've gone through several areas where we have reoccurring conflict, but the real important part is how do you resolve those conflicts? Because they are going to happen. Now, there's all sorts of tools you can use to resolve them. Some work great for us. Some might work great for you. Some that wouldn't work at all for us might work perfect for you.
Mm-hmm.
As a reminder, Melissa's a mental health professional. So you spend your days helping people work through how to resolve conflict in their life. We have found a few tools that work really well for us. So we're going to discuss a few of those. But before we get into that, we did want to mention that we have pulled together a guide for you to help step through some of these tools to put into action in your relationship. Link to that free guide is in our YouTube description or in the episode description. So feel free to look at that. But we're going to dive into a couple of those to start. Now, Melissa's going to lead most of this because, well, let's be honest, you've got the professional background in this. And I'm just going to chime in when I disagree.
Sounds a little familiar.
Exactly. All right. Well, let's start with listening. I think that's where we start.
It's one of the main components of communication is listening to the other person, and not just listening, but actually hearing them. There is a difference. I can listen and tell you the words, but did I process it? That comes down active and reflective listening. Nodding your head, acknowledging that you've said something, that's more active. Reflective is what I hear you saying is, you had a rough day at work. I'm sorry. Is there anything I can do to help? That's more reflective. But both of them are strong tools that we are definitely better at now than when we started dating oh gosh, I'm not even going to say it. When we started dating in our very early days and the early days of our marriage.
Yeah. This is one of those skills you absolutely have to practice, and you will get better with it as you practice. And to your point, it's not about just hearing the words that are said, but it's understanding those words. And one of the tips we have done is we've gotten much better at not just saying the words back, but putting them in your own words. That's that reflective listening part that you're talking about. Because it's great to nod your head and say, yeah, I heard you. And it's even one thing to, were you listening? Yeah, you said blah, blah, blah. No. Did you hear me? And actually put it in your own words so you understand. We've gotten tons better at that. So just actively listening. Something that we have built into is some ground rules around how we argue, right? And I don't know that we went through a formal process, but I think going through a formal process of agreeing how you're going to argue is probably something, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's important. And I agree with you. We didn't sit down and say, wow, we've been arguing quite a bit recently. Let's sit down. Let's talk about how we should do that moving forward, because what we're doing isn't working. And some good ground rules to have are like no name calling, no yelling, no accusing.
No digging up things that are not part of this argument.
Right.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about our personal style.
Okay.
Because 20 years ago, I was much more hot-tempered than I am now. I'm a lot calmer in my 50s than I was in my 20s and 30s. But we were never yellers. We were never screamers. We were never name callers. But you see that all the time.
Yeah. Oh, I see it a lot. And, if we're hearkening back, which makes sense because this is about our story, I used to internalize quite a bit and didn't share. I know that's something that I used to do. It made me uncomfortable.
You weren't as open about sharing stuff.
I wasn't. No, I kept stuff to myself. But then I realized with experience and then going to grad school, that doesn't work. It serves no purpose whatsoever except to upset you.
Yeah.
It doesn't resolve the issue. It doesn't make you feel any better. It honestly feels terrible.
Yeah.
And so that's a difference where I used to internalize and now I share.
Yeah. So some of our ground rules that we've grown into, that if we were to say, hey, what are our ground rules? If we were to do this exercise, if we were to go back and use that guide and go through our ground rules, it would definitely be no yelling at each other. It would be no name calling. It would absolutely never be cursing at each other. We just don't do that sort of stuff. I would also think that this goes into the next one, which is we take timeouts. We don't try to resolve every argument in the moment. So talk about a timeout strategy.
Yeah, especially for us. I'm one that often needs to think. I need to process. So process internally, but then discuss it. And we might be in the middle of something and I'm getting overwhelmed or I don't think it's productive. And I might say, hey, you know what? This isn't working for me right now. Can we talk about it after dinner? I think that's a really important part of taking a timeout is letting your partner know that you do plan, not that you're going to ignore it now. That's what people worry about. They worry that if we don't discuss it right now, and that's where conflict comes, people are forcing the other one to talk about it when they're not ready to or don't want to yet. But identifying, I need a break from this right now, but can we talk about it after dinner or can we talk about it on Saturday? So I have time to process and work through my thoughts and feelings on this.
Yeah, and I think I was reading a little bit about the difference between how men and women process, and I think there's a lot of times where, and I know I do this, I simply go quiet. Like, I don't want to talk about this right now. And we've been together long enough that you know that when I go quiet, that is our timeout because I'm not going to go any further on this.
I was just going to say, because you're never quiet. So
But there is that, yeah.
It's a dead giveaway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely.